Taylor J, Mac Irv, Tay Supreme, Kaleem the Dream, Mac Turner, Nucky, Jay Plaza, Juice Lord, Prince Riley, Nerdy, Cashanova, Student One, Lil Crush, Lil James, and John Ray. Those are the ones I at least tagged.
And Reefer
And Reefer Ree. Yeah, he's right there. I just missed his name. And Reefer Ree. Why did you choose those names exactly?
Man, because I fuck with all those artists.
And while you at it peeping this shit, go ahead to youtube.com/WaterWave TV and subscribe to that shit. Yeah, you know the waves in it. Baseball when hitting a home run, hit it with the coldest rains. And even on my bad days, I'm a clutch to finish. The track diminished, the booth burnt, hands is itching. Damn.
Welcome back to a new WaterWave TV interview. Today we got the one, the only Lewiee Blaze in the building.
What's good? What's good?
How you feeling? Came in fitted. You probably had this might be the best outfit we've ever had on the show.
Oh man, that's an honor. You know, hey, I feel great, man. I feel blessed and highly favored. I can't complain. And I just gotta say, first and foremost, shout out to WaterWave. You know, I really appreciate y'all and the platform and what y'all been doing for us artists in the city. So I gotta open up with that. It's an honor to be here, for real.
Awesome, appreciate you.
Yes,
it means a lot. First, before we get too deep into your music career, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you, kind of where you're from, where you grew up, stuff like that.
Yeah, most definitely, man. So I'm born and raised from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Well, I was born in Minnesota. I lived in St. Paul for some time, so I just represent the Twin Cities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I believe I'm the bridge of both. I graduated in St. Paul from the High School for Recording Arts. You know, and that's really where I began to pursue music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that passion. And really, I get around, man. I'm in both of the cities all the time. You know, I had a nomadic upbringing, so I never really represent or claim one specific area or neighborhood. You know, I'm just one of those guys that just get around. So yeah, I rep the Twin Cities. I'm young TC.
I've been hearing a lot more of these School of Recording Arts, like high schools and stuff. I've been hearing a lot more about that. A lot what's becoming, or there's been a lot more artists that are at least kind of rising in the scene as of late, or popping out of the blue or whatever, that have gone to these schools or are currently going to these schools after the younger cats. Which one did you say you went to? Because I know there's a few.
Yeah, man, I went to the High School for Recording Arts.
That's just what it's called?
Over in St. Paul, Studio 4.
Studio 4,
Yeah,
okay.
most people know it as Studio 4.
Yeah.
Man, that school been around for 20 years, you know, and there's actually a lot of artists on the scene who graduated from there. Like, you know, I don't know why we don't talk about it enough. I feel like we need like a whole Studio 4 alumni concert because there's so much talent that's came out of there.
Is that where NLE Choppa went when he came to town?
Yeah. We was there. Yeah. We was there. NLE Choppa came through. Shout out to my man Southside Chief from Live on Lake Street. We helped bring him up here, make that happen for the students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did see that happening. But yeah, I have heard. I know there's one artist rising right now. I don't know if you've ever heard of Lil Shine.
Lil Shine?
Yeah, he's like 18 now, but so he would have been way younger than you when he was going there. But he came out of there and I met him, but I was just like, oh damn, I didn't even know people actually still like went to those like music schools, because you know how I feel like that like those niche schools are all like not many people go to them because of how easily you can learn how to record and stuff on YouTube nowadays, or even like the IPRs. I'm not 100% sure. Isn't IPR closing, or did they close?
I heard they closed.
Yeah, like that, like those types of niche like schools. Like obviously that's collegiate versus high school, and a lot of kids need to go to a school like that so they don't stay out of trouble and whatnot. But when did you go there? Like when did you graduate from there?
I graduated in 2017.
Okay.
I started going there in 2015, and really, man, my story of going there was like, before I really got deep into music, because I've always been a poet, I've always been a writer and creative, but I was also a hooper growing up, right? I'm in the 1,000 Point Club too. I really get down. Like if anybody want to see me on the court, come through, you know, free smoke on that too. But when I went there, man, I was fresh off a charge at 16 years old. I was on probation. You know, I was just going down the wrong way in life and my path. And really that school, what it did for me was just change the trajectory of where my future could go. You know, that school put me on a plane for the first time. I did some keynote speeches. I traveled to California, traveled to Texas. I spoke at Harvard, Stanford. Like I did some major stuff as a youngin' going there, and that really opened up my mind and opened up, you know, my eyes to where my potential could be at. So I'm always representing that school, man. That school changed my life, and it changed the lives of others too.
That's fire. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that school. Where did you go before, and where'd you hoop at before?
I was going to MTS High School, Minnesota Transitions. over there on the south side, right over
Mhm.
there by the third precinct that we burned down a few years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where I was hooping for. And then in AAU, man, I played for the grassroots. I played with Jalen Suggs. Shout out to
Mhm.
Suggs. I played for Minnesota Select, the
Mhm.
Urban Stars. So I got around a little bit on the
Mhm.
court too.
I played AAU for one season,
Yeah,
but it was on not one of them crazy good, crazy teams or whatever. I don't even know if you heard of Minnesota Slam.
Minnesota Slam.
Yeah,
I
it's like
believe I
orange and
saw
gray.
Slam. I think we had some tournaments together. How old
Yeah,
is you?
so 2017 is when I graduated, but I would have played in like 2015. I think is the year I would have played
Oh
AAU.
yeah, that's when I put the ball down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was around like my 10th grade year, ninth grade, maybe freshman year, maybe 2014. But that was that's around when I quit basketball. But AAU was a lot more fun than my high school was. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I agree
AAU
with
ball
that
was
for
fun.
sure.
You talked about how you were a poet and stuff like that before Studio 4. What got you into like poetry or writing raps, writing rhymes when you were like, did it start when you were younger as a kid? Or did it just kind of spark one day? How did that go?
It most definitely started when I was a kid. So first and foremost, I gotta pay homage to my father, because he's a musician as well. He passed away now, but he was a blues musician, a lead guitarist, and he had a band. So when I was 5 years old, man, I was already growing up around music. The whole band rehearsing all the time, going to their shows.
Mm-hmm.
I even started off on the drums. That was like my first introduction to music, was playing the drums, and like I performed at Famous Dave's in front of a bunch of people when I was 5 years old. So that was my first introduction to music. But then growing up, my mom and my father had separated, and my mother is a huge hip hop head, and she exposed me to Tupac Shakur at a very young age, and really like that's what inspired me to want to become a poet, want to become a rapper, So then, within like I would say grade school, man, I started writing poetry, and my teachers used to just tell me when I was young that I had a skill for writing and I had a real talent. I used to write stories, like all types of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
man.
And even from learning how to write stories, now you're a published author, as you informed me of earlier. That I didn't even know. I didn't even know you were a published author. How, what got, how, I don't even know the word this. How do you become a published author? Like, what gives you that stamp? You know what I mean? Like, I know what it means to be verified on Twitter or Instagram, but like, how do you, like, how do you become a published author? How does that work?
Man, it's so what's so beautiful about art, man, is just it's a simple manifestation,
Mm-hmm.
with having an idea in our
Mm-hmm.
mind and being able to articulate that and put it on paper,
Yeah.
and then express that and share it with the world, right? So the book that I wrote, I'm a co-author as well. I wrote it with a mentor named Todd Barnes, and we wrote Deconstruction Zone, which is a personal development guide that speaks about self-worth. And really the purpose of that is to encourage people to, transform their trauma into triumph. We pretty much just hold up a mirror to ourselves, because we believe that like we're all born worthy, right? Worthy of love. We're all born gifted with a purpose. However, when a flower doesn't bloom, we got to look at the environment it grows, not necessarily the flower, right? Like you were made the imperfectly perfect you. And some of us are just being raised in a toxic environment, right? That begins to alter our behaviors and our attitude and the way we view ourselves. So we wanted to hold this mirror up and be like, yo, if you're not happy with where you are right now, you have the power, you have the ability to deconstruct yourself, right? Like analyze those habits and see what's good, what's bad, and release the bad habits and trade them for good habits,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so we wrote this project. It was like a 4-year project too. Like it was a lot of like thought and intentionality around this specific creation, because we wanted to bring something that could really help uplift humanity and begin to move the needle forward when we look at the inequities between the different ethnicities within America and what's going on with my culture as a black aboriginal man who's here in America. But yeah, man, we went together. We wrote the book, in Word document, right? And we sent everything through Amazon. We self published ourselves through Amazon. So now the book is on Amazon, and A lot of people haven't known about the book because we still haven't even launched the PR run for it, or we haven't launched the book release for it just yet. But we have been utilizing the book in different sacred spaces. We've been hiring young people to actually go through this curriculum and working with them, and you know, in a very intentional way to just help change the narratives and change the lives of some folks that, you know, could use a hand up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when did the book officially like drop then or come out?
Yeah, so the book officially came out last year.
Okay.
In 2022. You know, and last year was a very tough year for me. You know, at the top of last year I lost my mom, so that was a major loss. So I had a lot to do in my personal life, and I was still just trying my best to work through it and accomplish certain goals, and really get that out. That's something that we wanted to get out and get to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And moving forward, like we've been doing some amazing work behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For all of you book readers out there, go support this book. What's it called one more time for them before
The
they
Deconstruction Zone. Go check it out
Deconstruction
by
Zone
Lewiee
on
Blaze and
Amazon.
Ty Barnes on Amazon.
Mhm.
Losing your psychic pounds and rebooting who you are.
So my condolences to you for losing your mom as well. I couldn't imagine like going through that or whatever. Especially like we're kind of young still, at like a younger age and whatnot. Is like like losing a really close family member. Does that kind of give you like an extra drive, like at least like in the idea of your music career or your artistry overall?
I would say now it does.
Mhm.
You know, at first I was devastated. You know, I was broken. And my vision was blurry. You know, I began to lose sight of my dreams, and lose sight of where I wanted to be in 5 years, and things of that nature. However, I'm blessed to, you know, still have family, still have responsibility. I got little brothers that I got to be here for, got to be a role model for, got to be strong for. My grandma is still alive, thank God. You know, and I got a major support system within my family and the community as well. You know, based off of everything that, you know, I've been able to invest into the community, they were able to invest into me as well. So that really provided the balance that I needed to keep going and keep my head up. And now, like a year later, I don't want to let any more time go to waste. You know, I feel like last year was a lot of grieving in unhealthy ways, and this year my goal is to begin to heal in a more intentional way, and yeah, man, just do what's right, do what's best for me, like true self-love.
And I feel speaking of like doing good for the community and stuff, the first time I ever heard um of you, seen videos of you or anything like that was at like the protests, and I believe you're like talking with the megaphone and stuff like that, and that was actually the first time I seen you in person. I don't think I interrupted you and been like, oh yo, nice to meet you or whatever, but I seen you like in front of the Target with the megaphone, like chanting, doing your thing, like getting everyone going. But what did just explain that like that time frame. You know, it was crazy for everyone that lived in Minneapolis. He speaks about like the precinct burning down. But yeah, just like speaking on that like time frame of like that like it was like a couple weeks where it was like nothing was normal outside. Like it was like a law-free area in Minneapolis.
Man, it's most definitely a historical moment, man. And it's like when I was in that energy, it wasn't really too much like thinking, but it was like very like it was all reaction, you know, and just like kind of like following my spirit in a way. Like I feel like I need to be in this space. I feel like I need to speak up in these different areas. And that time for me though was it was very difficult, but I feel like that's really what, you know, kind of lit my torch in a way, because I've always been a reserved, relaxed, you know, somewhat introverted guy. You know, even though I have this voice, I have this powerful voice, I didn't really like utilize that to the best of my ability. And you know, a lot of people in my corner, they was telling me like, yo, we need your voice. You know, we need people to, you know, hear what you got to say, because you got some powerful perspectives that you can add to the world. So really that was the fuel to that, man. And we was everywhere, like not only just protesting and trying to keep the peace as well, you know. And then after, you know, the communities were destroyed, shout out to Project Restore Minnesota, Elijah Norris, shout out to DJ Slumper. I work with DJ Slumper as well, Essence Blakemore, Cherokee Christopher, shout out to him. Us and, you know, a collective of young people, we began to, you know, put together these different events that actually like invested into the community. So we was able to provide supplies for people that needed it, food, different things like that as well in that time, because that was something that was going unnoticed. From all the looting and all the destroying of our communities, we still had elders who couldn't go to the grocery store down the street anymore because it was destroyed.
Yeah.
So we was able to come in and help impact lives in that way as well. And that being able to do that and invest into that really that just provided some joy, really doing that work.
Yeah, I remember seeing like the stations where it was all the like essentials that were like available for anybody that needed them, and they could come up and basically grab what they needed and whatnot.
Yeah. One thing that I really really loved about that time though was just the unity.
Yeah.
That was showed. Like, feel like it was the first time me as a black man where I felt like I wasn't in this fight alone. Like no matter your skin color, no matter the neighborhood you was from, no matter your belief system, like a lot of different people came together to fight that fight. And for me that meant a lot, for real, because sometimes we could feel like the world is out to get us and only us. And it make us view this issue as like a us versus them thing, and like kind of view things in black and white. And that right there like shifted my perspective. Like, it's not about us versus them, it's not about black and white, it's simply about good and evil, right and wrong. So you got a good heart, then we on the same side. And that's really what stood out to me for sure.
Yeah, it was a very like uplifting time for like everybody in the community out here. And it sucked that like a lot of like smaller businesses and like other things like that had to either get broken into or burnt down and stuff like that. But like the bigger picture goal of everything was definitely, the point was brought across.
Yeah.
Like you could like the whole world took seeing what Minneapolis was doing, and every city around the whole world was started acting up and doing and showing their support. And
they thought Minneapolis was soft. They thought we were soft. Like, what?
It is crazy that like right outside there is where this building we're in right now. We didn't have the Waterway store yet, but it was PIF at the time. Got like where we're standing right now, there was probably hundreds of people just looting this place. And like 3 years later, do you think we've taken like a step in the right direction as like a police force or like government in Minneapolis, Minnesota, like a step in the right direction for helping police brutality, or even just like the unequality of treatment from the police?
Not at all. This shit's still the same, bro. I ain't gonna hold you.
It doesn't feel like anything really has changed. And I know the one thing that people were pushing heavy that I really agree with is that you shouldn't be able to be a police officer if you don't live like in the area, like the Twin Cities.
I'm trying to make that a bill. Actually, I'm trying to make that an official like law. Right now, I'm working with some folks that I know how to write laws and shit like that. I'm really trying to push that as a bill. I work in the same building as like city council members and lawmakers and stuff like that for like my day-to-day job for my career. And that's one of the heavy things that we pushing right now. So it's upcoming legislation. Like, for those that don't know, between January and June right now is legislation, is where, the community could present different policies or present different programs that the government should invest into. And we can try to push those things through our state and then through Congress and then on a national level. But that's like a main thing. Like, if a police officer does not live in a neighborhood, they shouldn't be able to police in that neighborhood. It's no different from a politician being able to run. Like, if you're a city council member, you have to live in the area that you're running for, right? And you're a public servant. With police officers, y'all are public servants, or they're supposed to be public servants, right? They're supposed to protect and serve, but we just saw what happened to Tyree Nichols down in Memphis. We saw what happened to Dante Wright, and the list goes on. It. The list is so long, man. I don't even want to say all the names anymore. Like, I just want to do the work that I need to do to liberate our people. That's where my energy is at.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like the more and more people from at least our generation, or at least our understanding, like, they get into office, the more things may change. I'm not a big politician. I don't really understand how a lot of stuff works, but I know like someone like Maria Issa, who just got elected like House of Representatives. I'm super bad at politics.
Yeah, she's in the House. She's in the House. Yeah.
But like I don't know exactly what she stands for and what she goes for. Like, maybe I should do a little bit better research. But like someone like that, who I seen the first time I met her, she was performing on a stage, at First Ave when that Minnesota Music Festival thing was going on, like last year, 2 years ago, whatever it was. That was the first, and now she's in office, and it's like, damn, like there's like a hopeful like tide shift, at least in Minnesota. I don't know how it is in other states, of this new generation, this new thought of thinking, this new way of living, and it's not just like the suit and tie, like stick to the book, type of people that you would expect to be working in the offices, the higher ups. Like there's someone that you can catch performing with their band on a Friday night, and Tuesday morning maybe at a Caribou on their way to the office to write laws. Like it's like a hopeful shift of a new culture, a new way of thinking, a new way of standing up for what you believe in, rather than just sticking to the book.
No, facts though, because the simple fact is this: if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. That's how it is for us in America, in this society. If you're not on the table, you're on the menu. So that's even why I've like chose to like kind of take my protest from the outside to the inside now, right? And like really focus my energy in a specific area that I feel like could bring liberation, because it's all about position of power, with these people. It's all about who's controlling the dollars, who's controlling the mind. I mean, government itself is just about mind control. Govern is to have authority over, and then mint, the root word of mint is the mind, mental health and stuff like that. So it's mind control. That's all the government is. So it's like, do we want these people who don't have our best interests at heart to control our minds, or do we want to step in and infiltrate the system? Shout out to the spook that sat by the door. We on that type of time, man. We trying to reverse engineer it. And the best way to do that is from the inside. I believe that, because I mean the only other way is war. Like real war. And honestly, I don't think we ready for that. If I'm being real, I don't think we ready for that. So it's like it's the ballad of the bullet, the speech that Malcolm X gave like 50 years ago. It's still very relevant today. That's actually one of my songs on my Freedom Fighter album that I dropped in 2021. It's the Ballad of the Bullet, just talking about those different strategies that we could take to liberate ourselves. And I hope we choose the ballot, man, because I'm not a war guy. I'm not a person that supports that. I'm all for peace at the end of the day, but at the same time, it's like it is what it is. So just stay ready so we ain't got to get ready. That's what I tell my people.
Yeah. Well, listen, this conversation's already made me want to read your books. I don't even read books, but I might have to look into it. But speaking of always wanting peace, after even talking to you the first 20 minutes, and for people that do know you, might even surprise you of one of the main reasons why we're getting this interview done now is because the diss tracks, the diss track that you dropped on, it was like 14 different artists in Minnesota. 14.
It was 16. I think I called 16 of them out. I think I counted.
Let me try to list off some names
if I'm not mistaken.
Because I tried to tag every artist that I seen on the cover art, but maybe I was just not familiar with their faces as well as I should be. Yeah. But you did drop a diss track, When Doves Cry. And at first I was like, at first I was like, damn, this dude's dropping a diss track on everybody. But after I listened to it, I wasn't like, oh, like this dude's not really necessarily looking for like, he's not looking to like actually stir a real deal pot. Like you're like, fuck you and I can whip your ass, and if I see you on the block, you're dead. Like, like there's certain types of diss tracks and like rap records out there that may make people think a certain way, or that is pushing the wrong way. But how I perceived it was a great way to like just stir the pot in the Minneapolis music scene and add some life, some entertainment to it, and try to get people to interact with it. But these are the ones I at least tagged. You had Taylor J, Mac Irv, Tay Supreme, Kaleem the Dream, Mac Turner, Nucky, Jay Plaza, Juice Lord, Prince Riley, Nerdy, Cashanova, Student One, Lil Crush, Lil James, and John Ray. Those are the ones I at least tagged.
And Reefer Ree.
Yeah, he's right there. I just missed his name. And Reefer Ree. Why did you choose those names exactly?
Man, because I fuck with all those artists.
Okay.
To be real. And really, like, what a lot of people from the outside looking in don't know is that I really know, like, majority of those artists. Like, it's probably like 3 of them, like, I ain't got their number type shit. But the rest of them, I got all these people numbers. And the fun fact about the song too is like the song was made a year ago, bro. It was made a year ago, and I sent it to all the artists like the day after I recorded it. It was like friendly fire. It was like, strap up, bro, I'm coming. Like it's just so it's so funny how it all played out.
Do you think some of those replies have been recorded for a while too then? Or do you think a lot of those responses were
Man, when I heard the responses, I could tell who strapped up. I feel like Kaleem the Dream had his ready. I feel like Nucky was kind of ready, but then he still implemented some like in real time stuff, you know. And Reefa called me straight up. He was like, "Man, my microphone was packed up, bro." He like, "You just brought me out of retirement, you know." Yeah, but Kaleem, no, that first track he dropped that what was the name of his song?
It was the one with the dude taking the headphones
Yeah,
off.
yeah, taking the headphones off.
Yeah.
Poor guy. He had that ready. I know
Mhm.
he did. He's smart. He's smart. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, that makes sense because I think in Mac Turner and Prince Riley's response, they say, or some in one of the responses they said like you made this in 2022 or something.
Yeah,
I feel like one of them said something like that. Did you
most
have
definitely.
Reefa's was funny. His was the funniest to me. His response.
Yeah.
But what was your motive behind dropping the song? Like what was the purpose behind? Even at the beginning, you said this ain't a diss track, but it said diss track in the title, so that's how we ran with it, or whatever. But what was your purpose in writing a diss track for basically the artists you fuck with in Minnesota?
Yeah, man, I love being an artist, man. You know, cause like we create all the illusions that we want. You know, and one thing about me though is like it was never no ill intentions. You know, and people know that. Like you just said, like you could feel that through the music and through the bars that was being delivered. But really, the very first motive, honestly, it was Lil James. He had an interview on Trap Right. And he said it with his chest. He like, can't nobody in Minnesota out rap me. Can't make no song better than me. And he said it with his chest, you know? And me, like, I'm a real hip hop artist, bro. Like I studied the culture, you know, the game. I'm talking about back to KRS-One, the Bridge is Over type shit. You know, like that's where I come from. That's the era I come from. So if you out here in this sport, because like let's not mistake this. Like hip hop is a sport now, right? Like we could say like we not competing and all that as much as we want to, but at the end of the day, you want people to follow behind you, right? You want to build an audience. You want to create some wealth off of this, and there's other people here that's gonna have that spotlight as well, And I'm not saying it's not enough for all of us to eat, because of course it is enough for all of us to eat, but there are levels to this shit, right? It is levels to the game, and when I heard that, I just felt like I disagreed respectfully, and not necessarily saying like I rap better, but there's a lot of dope MCs in Minnesota that I feel get overlooked. I feel like I'm one of them. I feel like, Kaleem, Nucky, Lewiee, a lot of those MCs that I
almost everybody on that list
Juice Lord
is all like from a really local hip hop head, Minnesota hip hop head level. Everybody knows that like they're fire, but from like a actual make this your job, very overlooked. Like
Very.
I remember like I've heard like Kaleem the Dream was one of the first names that were like brought up to me from shout out to Jake Giller. He was like he's part of the Water Wave team, but he's super like lyrical rapper, and he was tied in with like Student One back in the day, and like that crowd. And it's like I've been like that crowd's been around. It seems like at least like since we've been around. So like 4 or 5 years since we've really been high in this or tight in the scene, paying attention to stuff. But it's like I think it might have to do with just the overall state of like hip hop and where it's at, and like that the lyrical stuff isn't like as popular as like the violent and like super auto-tuned stuff as it is right now.
Yes.
But it is like an art form that hasn't left, and it never will leave, in my opinion. I don't think it ever will
It's
leave, and I think it's
timeless.
only going to come back, just like how trends do with like wearing certain type of clothing from that time period. The music's going to come back. Certain types of cars from that time period, it's going to come back, and
Yes.
it all comes in waves.
Absolutely. I believe in that, and that was a part of the motive as well. It's like, let's shine a light on what we can do as a whole in Minnesota. Like if I could spark this fire, like if it really worked, how it's supposed to work, then, my followers are going to know about your followers going to know about my followers. We could share that. We could turn this into a real live show. We could make some money together. Like it could benefit us economically too, So I was thinking about all of these strategies. Like I'm a chess player, you feel me? So I was seeing the many different ways that this can go. I even saw, what the negative remarks could look like, and all of that, but the love just, it outweighed the hate.
Yeah.
On that. So that was most definitely the motivation. It's like, let's bring hip hop back, and like you said, man, it's only gonna come back. It's just like I'm getting tired of waiting. I'm ready to bring it back now. I'm kicking that door in. Yes,
Yeah, and the comment section is an interesting topic, because even on our post, it was at first it was really mixed of like man, what's this guy dissing shit? This is not what Minnesota needs. We need to love each other. And then there's the people that are like, I love this for the Minnesota music scene. Like it's literally like it's a complete both sides of the story. And like I think I already said my opinion. I think it was great because it made people respond. You're swapping fans. You're just putting some interest in the music scene. Like a lot of people that didn't even know who you were are going to be like, who's this guy? But then maybe be like, damn, this dude actually kind of like was fire. You know, like everyone's always like, who the fuck is this guy thinking he can diss everybody? And then they listen to it and they're like, okay, this is pretty fire. But one funny comment that was in there was a few people were talking shit about the beat choice. And so I was just curious, like why you decided to use that beat.
Man, I ain't gonna hold you. So I barely rap over YouTube beats, to be honest. Most of my production, either I created myself or I work with a producer to create it. But if I do like find a beat on YouTube or I find something with BeatStars, I invest into it. I buy it, make sure that I own it. And when this idea came to me, like, okay, I'm gonna send a shout out. I'm like, what'd be the best way to do it? And then it's like, Prince. We in Minnesota, pay homage to the GOAT of Minnesota. Like when you hear Minnesota, people still think of Prince. So I'm like, why not? So I just go simple. You know, I simply Google "When Doves Cry" sample hip hop beat. You know, click through a few, and I heard that one. And I'm the type of rapper, bro, where like I can do this shit a cappella. I could do this shit on the table. Like, I could rap to anything, bro. You know, like I'm one of those. You know, and I'm a lyrical artist too. So like, you gotta listen to what I'm saying. Like, don't get drowned in the beat. Like, actually listen to the words. So like with me, I wasn't necessarily emotionally attached to the beat, but I felt like I could spit on that motherfucker. You know, gave me a nice hip hop vibe. It was like, this is what it sounds like when doves cry. Then that beat came in like, like what? Stop playing. I just got fired up off that. So, you know, for the ones saying the beat was trash and all that, you know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You know, I still lit that joint up. You feel me? And, you know, y'all think the beat is trash. If y'all are producers, please send me some beats that's not trash, okay? You know, let me get hip. I am old school too, okay? Let me get hip to the new school. Give me some new school sounding beats as well. Let me get wavy.
The big motive behind that song was "Fuck Your Top 5" if Blaze not on it.
Yes.
So what's the true top 5 then?
True top 5. Honestly, man, I'm in a space right now. I feel like we have so much talent here to where like a top 5 should even exist. You know, like it's just crazy because I feel like even if I was to give you like 5 rappers now, when I'm like driving on my way home, I'm gonna think of somebody like, nah, they should be in the top 5. You know, like
5 is hard.
It's very hard.
There isn't 5 rap. If at least we're talking rap, like and excluding like I'd say like, I don't even really even if you're not excluding anybody, it's hard to even pick 5 people that even have like a real deal a real deal career. Got a whole fit change coming back.
Bro, funny.
He wanted the jacket. He found a jacket on the shelf, and
he beat me to it. I was finna cop that joint. I ain't gonna hold you.
It's fire. We just put it on the shelf today.
Yeah.
Bet we'll talk about
one and the same, man.
If you guys didn't know, we got a clothing store too.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that at the end. But what was I saying? Top 5. It's hard. Like there's too many artists that are super fire, and there isn't 5 artists that I could say, at least in the rap scene, that are even necessarily have a whole career off of rap. You know what I mean? That are, you know, that making all their money off of music and not having to worry about working another job or making money off hustling another way. Like if you're just thinking of people who have actually like can sell out a show and pay their rent or whatever, like you think of like Prof and maybe like a Young Gravy, at least for the hip hop scene, like maybe a Bobby Raps as well, but he's more of on the producer side and he's not, you know, those are guys that are honestly like I wouldn't even like put in like a top 5 from out here, because it's just like they're just on a different path, like on a different level of like calling, you know, the top 5 in Minnesota. Because like I'd say Prof, like, you can't not put Prof in any top 5 for a Minnesota rapper, in my opinion. But
Prof is dope.
Just off of his fans and what he can do. Now a lot of people might disagree because of the type of music he makes, and it's not necessarily like the hip hop people like or think of when they think of the word hip hop. but there just isn't that many people that it's like a definitive, like, oh, these are the top 5, maybe 7 guys. Like, it's all opinion based at this point. And it's
Exactly.
an argument that nobody's ever going to win, because everybody has their own opinions on who they like and why they like them and why they think they should blow up before the next artist and everything like that. But as one question, just on a general Minnesota music scene, what do you think, like, the state of where we're at right now compared to, like, maybe how you've seen us from 4 or 5 years ago, like, overall?
Man, I feel like the music scene has most definitely been growing and expanding. It's a lot of like emerging artists, you know, that are sharing their art with the world, and you know, the sound is so diverse too. You know, like we have great hip hop artists here, you know, like lyricists. We got great singers here. You know, we got great folks that can cross over into the pop sector. You know, we even got some very dope like R&B artists here. Like it's crazy. The talent here is just so abundant. So when I look at it from that view, it's like pretty soon what I see for Minnesota is like a huge wave of all of us like breaking through the mainstream industry, kind of like the Chicago wave, you know, when Chief Keef came out, you know, and Lil Durk and all those folks, Lil Herb, like, you know, the door was open, right? The door was smashed open and everybody ran through that door. That's one thing I feel like we haven't been able to do here in Minnesota just yet. It's like that door being smashed open and all of us running through that door, you know? So like, that's what I want to be able to like shine a light on. It's like everybody stay ready, so we ain't got to get ready. Like our time is very close. You just named some folks that's from Minnesota, and you know, shout out to Prof too. One thing, because I actually had mixed feelings about him when I first like, you know, discovered him, but then he grew on me, you know, because as I listened to his music, I'm like, man, this dude is authentic, you know, like he being himself, you know, and it's dope. I support that. He give me like kind of like Hobson type vibes, you know. Like I grew up on Hobson, you know, the whole Funk Volume crew, Jaron Benton and them. He give me those type vibes, you know, just that independent lane. And I got mad respect for anybody that's doing their work independent. Like some of the greatest people ever have been independent. We know Chance, you know, Tech Nine, you feel me, Master P, like some really dope folks that's been independent. And on top of that, I've been seeing for like the past 2 years, he been utilizing his platform, because now that he done built his name up, he been utilizing his platform to give back to the artists on our scene, you know, going on tour with Tay Supreme, Mac Turner, Prince Riley, you feel me, Mac Irv, like bringing them on tour. That's the type of energy that we need to keep and maintain. So big ups to him and the Stop House group for making that happen, because I just love that.
Yeah, I want to see more of that too. Not from Prof, because they've, I mean, obviously the more the better, but they've been doing it. But just other artists that are in that position. Like even if you talk about like a Young Gravy, like take one of these young cats on tour with you. Like this dude tours the country. Bring one. Just bring one.
At
Just to
least
show
one.
that. Just to show.
Bring
that,
me Young Gravy.
like,
If you
just to show
watching this
care,
interview,
you know?
bring me Gravy.
Just bring one. Even if it's just the Midwest stops, and you bring a different one for the other stops. You know, like. Just to show that you care, even if they're getting 10 minutes, but they get to learn that experience. Because like Prof is doing it, and he ain't and nothing against Prof, he ain't making Young Gravy money on these tours. Like he might be getting close because he's independent, but like crowd wise and engagement wise, like Young Gravy's obviously like the top hip hop artist Minnesota has to offer right
and
now.
it's crazy. I just learned about him like within his last year. You know how I felt? I'm like, dang, where's my antennas been at? This guy from Minnesota, from Rochester, like where have I been at?
He just doesn't necessarily talk about being from Minnesota a lot on a lot of his interviews. I think since he's not necessarily from the Twin Cities, that he does, like, he can't be like, you know, like if he says Rochester, he's gonna have to explain what is Rochester. But if he said I'm from Minneapolis, everyone would be like, oh, that's, you know, Minneapolis, Minnesota. But like, I don't know if that's the reason why. But
he can't say from Minneapolis no more. He called us a knockoff Chicago.
Yeah, after
that.
that.
Nah, I better not hear him say from Minneapolis. No, keep that in Rochester.
Yeah, Rochester's an interesting place.
I don't even know if I ever been to Rochester, to be honest. I'm from the trenches, bro, so
I really only went there for like sporting events because they were in our conference. I'm from Mankato originally. I don't know if you are familiar with Mankato.
I've been to Mankato.
Yeah, Mankato was a really big like party college and stuff back in the day. So
that's what brought me to Mankato.
That's how most people were there for like partying or going to school out there. But we played like against Rochester for sports and stuff like that. But while we're still on the topic of your music career, what do you have planned for 2023 besides dissing the whole music scene?
Man, what I got planned this year is consistency and versatility. You know, because I one thing that us artists deal with. Like you just said earlier, like still having to work a job and pursue their career and stuff like that. That's very difficult, for somebody that really has a deep passion for this and want to put they all into it. Haven't been able to put the systems in place just yet for our music to keep us stable enough to, just live off that. So I've been taking some, intentional time off into my own career, my other hats that I wear as well, to make sure that I'm stable enough to put my all into music. So now I done got myself to that point to where, my family taken care of. You feel me? I'm stable. I'm good. I ain't hungry. And I'm not no starving artist no more. And I'm able to like really put my all into this music, once and for all. And I'm grateful I could. I'm still only 25. That's one thing. A lot of people be thinking I'm older than what I am. Like, I'm only 25. I got a long time. And I've always had the mindset like, yo, this a marathon. We all got our own path. I used to feel some type of way when I was younger, like, man, why I'm not famous yet? Why I ain't big yet?
Yeah.
But we all just got our own path. And now I've been able to see the path that God has created for me. And it's a path of longevity, and it's a path of legacy. So that's the lane that I'm walking down. And man, moving forward, man, like I said, consistency. I got a lot of music coming. I got multiple projects. And then I also like said versatility, because I feel like me as an artist, I've been put into a box, because a lot of people was exposed to me throughout the protesting and thing in 2020, like you said. And right away, people love to like attach a label on you, right? Put this title on you, like, oh, that's a peaceful rapper. Oh, that's a revolutionary guy, right? But like, you don't really know a person until you get to know them, and really understand where they come from. In my background, man, my upbringing, is a crazy story. So this year, I just want to share my story with the world, and I want to show the world what I got. I got some R&B vibes coming. You feel me? I got some wavy stuff coming. Like, it's nothing that I can't do with my artistry. That's one thing about me. Like I said earlier, I could rap over anything. I'm a songwriter as well. I've been writing for some singers on the off time and stuff like that. And my vote has been built up. Like I'm sitting on music that I had for like years now, right? And it's timeless though. Like I can drop it tomorrow and it's still gonna smack. So I'm at this point now to where I'm just finna, let it all out, man, and just stay consistent, show my versatility, perform way more, get out of state as well. We got some moves that we making outside of the state. I've always been traveling, just due to my other work that I do for the community. I've always been the one to travel around and stuff like that. But this year, man, I'm most definitely bringing that heat, man, and it's gonna stay consistent. Like you gonna see something from me, damn near every week, type deal.
It's kind of what you got to do to grow.
Like Russ. Russ inspired me with that. Like Russ put out a song every week for like a year straight. And
Was
for a
that
long time,
was that back like when he was not like the Russ everybody knows?
Yeah, exactly. That was back when people still sleep. You feel me? And now look where he at. But it takes that kind of grit. It takes that kind of grind to like really wake people up. And that's where I'm at. It's like I have a IC perspective now versus see me. And this is what we talk about in the Deconstruction Zone book. Actually, it's like a see me perspective versus IC. See me is like I want attention. I need attention. I don't feel seen or valued or heard for who I am. Please pay attention to me, right? IC is like I see my value. I see my worth. And when I step into a room, heads are gonna turn just because of who I am, because I know who I am, right? It's just a different level of confidence. It's a different level of self-worth, and that's what I'm embodying this year. As an IC perspective, it's like I don't seek the attention. I'm not an attention whore. However, the person that I am and what I have to offer in any space that I come to is very valuable, and I know somebody is going to appreciate it. So, I got a lot of love to give. Let's get it popping.
Yeah. Speaking of a lot of love to give, you have your own what do you call it, collective organization called the N4 Collective. You could definitely explain a little bit more about it, but I believe it's about like giving back to kids that maybe have gotten in trouble or are in trouble, trying to bring them down the right path type of organization, right?
Yeah, that's the work that we focusing on right now.
Yeah.
We're really like at the core of my organization, so it's N4 Collective, and that represents N to the fourth power, right? And these four powers are new mindsets, new media, new leadership, and new narratives. And what the N4 Collective originally was birthed with was to change the narrative for African American males, just growing up in a society where it's so many social stigmas, right? We was programmed to think that in order to be successful, you got to be an athlete, or entertainer, or could get rich on the block, right? Just these limited visions of what we can be or what we can see. However, man, it's time to change the narrative, have these new ways of thinking, have some new leadership. Like, yo, we can be lawyers, we can be doctors, we can do anything we put our mind to. And really what that turned into was like us beginning to change our own narratives and what we do. And one thing that I noticed with attempting to like build a collective organization is that everybody got their own thing going on. Like, we all have our own entity, we all got our own vision and our own business that we want to start. So then I took that as an opportunity to say, like, okay, instead of like asking people to be a part of my vision, I'm gonna share this. This is gonna be our vision, where like we can have like this foundation that can invest into us as individuals, right? So like I got some homies that got different type of businesses, videographers, photographers, movie companies, me with the music and the artistry, and I'm able to utilize our foundation as like a pool of resources. Then we could utilize that and break bread together and invest into each other. So that's what it's for. And then on the community empowerment side, I'm utilizing our book, The Deconstruction Zone, and we're currently attempting to get it implemented within the juvenile justice system as a curriculum that young people could actually practice and work through as they transition back into the community. Because one thing that's big over there in that is recidivism. Recidivism is when you get locked up and then you get out and then you end up coming back to jail. That's an area that we're currently working on changing, and also shout out to the Minnesota Youth Justice Coalition. That's a community coalition I sit on. We just launched the End Youth Prisons campaign a little late last year. And yeah, it's self-explanatory, man. We just working on transforming the way that we approach crime when it comes to young people, because a lot of young people actually get sent to prison at an early age. And one thing that the lawmakers and these community stakeholders and justice folks don't understand, it's like our brain isn't fully developed until like the age of 25. Like, your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed to the age of 25. So like naturally you're not always going to make the right decision in life, right? So it's like, give us a chance to grow and develop. And really with me, it's just my living testimony, because I committed a crime when I was 16, right? And the state wanted to charge me as an adult, and I was scared shitless. Like, I was crying in my cell, like, now I'm finna go to prison for 5 years. I'm thinking about my little brothers, like all of this stuff. And by the grace of God, I was blessed to not go to prison. However, they hit me with EJJ. EJJ stands for Extended Juvenile Jurisdiction, right? It's a very strict probation with your time dangling over your head. So if you violate your probation, boom, they send you off to prison. And literally 50% of young people that get on EJJ get sent to prison. I'm blessed to be a part of the 50% that didn't get sent to prison, right? Because I made right decisions and I just didn't get caught with the stupid stuff that I did do. But I could have easily violated my probation, got sent. So it's crazy how life works, So I just utilize my story and my lived experience, and I reach in and I give back, and I'm an active, real model for these young people in those same shoes. And I'm just like utilizing my platform as a pathway for them to change their narratives as well. That's really like, that's the bigger purpose. That's why I say like I'm bigger than just music as well. Like this hasn't been my only focus. And that's one thing that people from the outside looking in don't know, because I don't talk about that work as much, right? But like that takes an extreme amount of my time and energy as well. So I haven't been able to invest all of my energy into music. Like I haven't. However, like I've been doing all of this building, planting all of these seeds, and watering my garden in these multiple areas, and now I'm starting to see that garden flourish a little more. And I'm at the point now to where I can delegate tasks. Like, I can hire folks to go work in this area and do this work while I've spent my time and my energy on what I want. And right now, I want this music game, man. I want to come pimp a butterfly.
Facts. Hey, This might have been the most insightful conversation I've ever had too. You came in with the fit, dropping gems, just all around smart guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I appreciate it,
Hey
man.
man, y'all need to tap in with Lewiee Blaze if you have not already. Is there any closing comments you would like to put out there? Any shout outs, anything like that before we send it off for everybody?
Man, I want to say shout out to all the MCs who took that challenge with When Doves Cry, you know, and shout out to all the doves that's out there crying as well. You know, I want to say shout out to my family, shout out to my supporters, man, my team, rugby management. We doing some amazing things, man, and the last remarks that I'll leave you all that's watching this interview that can hear the sound of my verses, like I'll just leave you with your birthrights, right? We talk about civil rights, we talk about human rights, but we don't talk about our birthrights enough. And they're simple positive affirmations. You are valuable, you are lovable, you are powerful, and you are important. And never let nobody tell you otherwise. Yeah. Oh, dang. I got to plug myself. Lewiee Blaze, Lewiee Blaze, man. Stop snoozing, G. Go Google me.
There you go. You can shop with us like bro just did if you've seen it on the camera. Oh yeah, get him on the cam. Put on the main cam.
Put on the main cam.
Yeah, so the front one.
Best in the city, shawty. Y'all come shop with Water Wave. Stop playing. Stop playing. I'm finna drop a bag on here. I ain't
Dude
gonna
just
hold
can't.
you.
He do a shop during the interview. You already know. But wait, 1521 Como Avenue, Southeast Minneapolis, Minnesota is where we got our clothing store where we sell vintage clothing, we sell retros, we sell Yeezys, Nike Dunks. You see he's got that crazy jacket on. Bunch of designer wear, Bape Supreme, all that cool stuff. Exotic sodas. We got a music recording studio that you can book your time at waterwavetv.com as well. If you want to do a podcast with us, you know, look at the description, look for the email, go on our website, hit us up about it. However you want to do it. Just don't Snapchat us about it. I hate when people Snapchat us. I'm trying to get into our business because I'm not opening up a single Snapchat on that Waterwave Snap because y'all be wilding on there. I ain't doing none of that. Don't DM us either because I ain't gonna see it. Email us. And yeah, this is Ricky. This is Lewiee Blaze. Jackson over there behind the cameras. You can't see him, but he's there. We out.